Well, welcome everyone to another Mindful Monday. We are all on a journey, and sometimes those journeys have challenges. However, you do not have to face those challenges alone. At Mindful Mondays, we believe that we can do more together, and we are here to support you holistically and without judgment. So, thank you for joining us today. Now, I'd like to start by thanking our sponsors, Ana Pashyanti, Legal Shield, and the Ben Method Academy for making this Mindful Mondays episode possible. So, have you been feeling overwhelmed with emotions or stuck in mental patterns that have been holding you back? Well, my amazing guest today is here to help you discover the secrets to energetic health and activate your self healing power. Ana Pashyanti is an international speaker, healer, mystic, and explorer of the inner and outer realms. Her journey of mental deprogramming, emotional healing, and self realization has taken her on pilgrimages to over 55 countries and 6 continents, including training in both traditional and modern spiritual practices from all over the world. She's a highly sensitive empath and has spent decades healing her emotional overwhelm. After finally breaking free of mental and societal limitations, she now empowers others to discover their own potential to heal and create transformation in their lives. Ana, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm hoping I did not slaughter your last name.
That was beautiful and perfect. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you. Now, that is really incredible to go to over 55 countries, 6 different continents. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey and what sparked it?
Yes, it was life-changing at the beginning, and I can see that we share some interest in travel and holistic health, and what I find really ties that all together is this feeling of freedom that is so empowering. Because when you learn to take control of your life, you can go anywhere and you can do anything and you can be who you really are. And so when I started to listen to my intuition, to truly desire to be who I really am instead of what I was expected to be or who I thought I should be, then it was all connected. So once I listened to my intuition, like for example, my life was miserable. I had nothing in my life that I felt was supporting me. No one was really understanding me. I was kind of out in the middle of the woods with not even running water, just working on a laptop. I mean, I was just kind of, my life was collapsing. It was all breaking apart. My relationship was ending, everything miserable. So I go back home. I leave the country. I am sitting at my parents' kitchen table and I ask for the first time in my life, and then I was, early 30s, what do I really want? What do I really want out of life? What do I want to do in my life? And that was the first time I literally asked myself with the intention of listening. So for the first time, I heard the answer when I asked the question, and that was two things. I want to learn about what consciousness is because I've been hearing a little bit about that here and there. And I want to go to Istanbul in Turkey.
Nice.
I had never done either of those two things before. And so I was like, well, I got nothing to lose. I'm kind of at ground zero. Life is not working out. So I just decided to go there. When the answer hit me, it's like sparkles in the air. It was like a literally, I could feel it, and it just was the beginning of what I would call my first pilgrimage, because I went to Istanbul. Yes, I, by chance, by magic, however you want to call how the universe works, I had these incredible meditation experiences in Istanbul in very special circumstances. There were refugees there from war-torn countries. There were uh, it was a mix of various different people and characters. So it was an interesting situation. But I had these meditation experiences there was Greek chanting and there was this beautiful music, and I just sat in this meditation without even knowing what meditation was really. And I had the most incredible, undescribable experiences that a few hours later, and a few days later, after I kind of recovered, um, I had to find out what that was. I had to learn more about it. What is this that's happening to me? What did I just experience? And so I started learning there in Istanbul. I met some people who were into Sufism, was kind of how I started. And then had my laptop. I was still working, remotely, so I could take my work and travel. And so I kind of went east. And so I spent about a month in each country, going east through Southeast Asia, up, and eventually about, maybe a year later, 6 months later, I don't know, a few months later, 8, 10 months, who knows? I ended up in Hong Kong. And so that was kind of the epitome of this period of my life and of my journey, because I finally got to the kind of culmination of the understanding what is energy, what is the universe, what is all this meditation for, how are we all connected, what does this mean that we're all one, and and so I finally got to the kind of the final answer on this leg of the journey, life journey and physical journey, the answers that I was looking for. So that is just my first example of a pilgrimage that I've done in my life. I've done multiple ones after that, but it was my own pilgrimage. It wasn't just to one specific site, although I did visit sacred sites, and that is super helpful and really helps with the energy and connecting to the earth in many different ways. But it was my own pilgrimage. I made it so that I was listening as the universe brought me answer after answer after answer, leading me to the places where I would meet the people that would give me those answers, or teach me something. It might be difficult, might be easy, but they would teach me something. And then it just all combines to make me realize everything is sacred, right? So that for me is the pilgrimage that started my new life.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I mean, for one, you said at the age of 30, right, is when you stopped and looked at it, which I admire you for. It took me till 50 something to do that, because like
Yeah.
you, I was like, you're always doing what you think you're supposed to be doing, or what you were brought up to do, and yet you're still, yes, you can do it, but you're not really happy, you know, doing what it is. And then, yeah, the fact that you took that time to ask yourself, okay, what is it that I want, and followed through with it, that had to be, I don't know, did you ever find it kind of frightening or worry about it, or just you just knew that that's what you had to do?
Yes, there have been a number of times in my life, and that was one of them, where I really didn't know if it would work out. I didn't know if the internet was going to be strong enough for me to do my work, and I would end up, begging on the street. I didn't know what would happen, and I had to trust the universe. I had to trust source that it would work out, even when I didn't know what and who the universe really was. Still, like, I have really had to trust. I just go for it, because the cost of not doing so was higher than the cost of taking the risk.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. That's something that I don't think often we look at, as far as, what is the benefits or the cost of, if I do this or if I don't do this or if I stay here. And the fact that you took that leap is just, that's incredible. So, so how did all of these travels and stuff come into your and shape all of your healing practices and stuff that you do today?
Well, I learned something actually when I got to Hong Kong, and then places afterwards. Where I really came into contact with very, very highly evolved or highly trained or highly advanced spiritual practitioners, whom I respect and I'm so grateful for teaching me so many things. But one thing that I realized was missing was the allowing of the emotion and the pain in the psyche and in the body. They were mostly repressing their emotions. They were, as we kind of is natural to do when you're on a spiritual path and you're learning that there's so much more than just the body, and we can't identify with the body because actually we're so much more than that, right? We're connected to all that is. We're connected to source. We are part of that. And so, no, we're not just the body. And no, we don't need to identify with the body. It's a body. We have a relationship with our body. But we also don't need to repress it, to ignore it, to neglect it, to reject it. And the same with our emotions. And so I realized that there is something missing, that wasn't the the end of my learning journey, because of course, if we're alive, we're still learning.
Yep.
But the one thing that I had to learn after that was processing the emotions, you know, um, accepting also the imperfect parts, yeah, the mundane, the worldly parts, the body, the negative emotions. Not only because it is a part of the spiritual path. If you don't do that, you're rejecting part of yourself, and how can you be one?
Right.
And how can you be unified with all that is if you're rejecting parts of yourself or parts of anything? But the other part, of course, is to we don't have to be we don't have to suffer as much as we do, in my opinion. I do not think that's a requisite for learning. I do not think that's required to advance spiritually. I don't think it's a requirement to learn. There's a lot of learning and wisdom in suffering, but we're also allowed to be happy, and we're also allowed to feel better. We're also allowed to have relief and to be at peace. Maybe not always. Maybe there's always things that come up when we're working on it. When we're on this planet, it's not a perfectly peaceful, blissful planet all the time. Great, we came here for a reason. I'm sure that's what we wanted to experience. But we we also can allow ourselves to feel relief, to feel better, and to feel more peaceful. So my journey kind of started after my first pilgrimage of learning about the universe and what consciousness is. After that, then I had to learn how to heal, and so that was another good few years, up to a decade probably, of just learning and training in healing modalities. Because not only did it change my life, but it changed the lives of the people I helped, and I knew that had to be part of the journey.
Yeah, and that has to be an incredible feeling, because I know there's many of us that we go through traumas, we go through things, situations, and yet we don't always let that out. We like bottle them down and shove them down, and it creates so much havoc in our body, our health, and everything else. And a lot of people, they just don't know a good way to release. So,
Yeah, yeah. You got to release it, and you have to allow yourself to feel it. It doesn't mean wallow in it and get stuck in it. That's actually kind of a way of resisting what you're feeling, is if you kind of get stuck in it for days and weeks and years. It's different. But to allow yourself to feel it, just allowing it to first to be there, and then to kind of move and change and shift on its own. That is a crucial part of the healing process, just to allow what we feel, and it's okay.
yeah. Do you have a particular method that you like that works for you in order to feel it and release it?
Yes, yes. So for me, I call it kind of a well, it's an emotional processing technique, but I kind of combine it with a meditation. So it can be a very quick and easy, simple thing to do. It can also take an hour if you want to sit with it for an hour. But basically, you come into your quiet place, even if it's, if something comes up and your emotion is coming up, and it's a difficult emotion, it could be anger, or it could be fear, or it could be sadness. As soon as possible, you just find a quiet space, firstly, where you can be by yourself, even if you have to run to the bathroom for 10 minutes and just sit there and kind of, go into yourself. So, and then when you can calm down, you kind of get yourself grounded, and then you tune in and you just feel your body, because all of the pain that we have stored in the unconscious, or in the psyche, however you want to describe it, it's also stored in the body. It will have an emotion, it will have a physical sensation tied to that. So you just go in, you quiet down, and you feel your body. Firstly, you have to be in your body. If you're out worrying about things and planning things, you're not in your body. You got to be in the here and now, and then you be fully in your body, and then you feel the sensations that are coming up. So that can be anything. It could be your little toe is feeling kind of uh, tense. It could be you have this sort of hot anger in your chest. It could be like kind of a nauseous, twittery feeling in your stomach. Could be a headache, could be pain in any part of your body, anything. It could be anything. You just allow what is coming up into your awareness. And that's the first part. The second part is then to allow it and to track it. So you keep your attention on it while it's moving and changing and shifting. And then it will move and change and shift. Eventually, you allow it just to expand and to merge with your conscious mind. That's how I see it anyway. That's how I describe it. It is basically a hurt part of you that you didn't feel safe to feel. Now it got stored in the body, whether it was 5 seconds ago or 5 years ago or 5 decades ago. From the unconscious, then you are allowing it to join your conscious mind again by just holding it in your loving awareness. And that is the healing. That when it really merges with your conscious mind, for me, that is the healing, because to heal means to become whole, to become one with those parts of yourself. And then they are no longer controlling you by trying to get your attention, by attracting situations that make you suffer, right? Because that part of you wants your attention, it wants to be united with you again. So for
No,
me, it is
that
as
makes
simple as
sense
that.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you have people that have like what we call monkey brain, because you're talking about going in and actually feeling it, but if you've got that busy mind or monkey brain that doesn't want to shut off, do you have a tip or technique that you can suggest to them to be able to at least shut that off? I mean, is it breath work, or what do you suggest?
The easiest I find is to go into the body. You can do a body scan. And why do I keep going back to the body? Because when we have nothing else, when we're out of sorts, when we feel unsupported, when we feel confused, chaotic, anxious, when we have nothing left to support us or to hold on to, we have our bodies. And so you go into your body, and when you can do a body scan, you just kind of put your attention first, maybe in your head, because usually your thoughts are kind of up here, swirling around. So you got your energy up here, and then you bring your energy down. So then you start really to feel your energy in the lower half of your head. Feel all the eyes, the nose, the ears, the jaw, everything. And you move your attention down into your neck, into your shoulders, and you continue down. Move your attention down, feeling the parts of your body, especially all the way down to your feet, because that will put your attention in your body. It will ground you all, so you can move your attention even farther down into the earth to ground you, to feel the support of Mother Earth, because she's always also here with us. So when we have nothing, we always have our bodies and we have the earth to support us. And then you'll notice by doing that, by just feeling the here and now of your body and its connection to the earth, your brain has started to quieten down,
Usually. Yeah, I've noticed if I've participated with like guided meditation. So if I'm listening to someone and someone is talking and telling you like to breathe into a certain part, it's like, damned if I can't feel that part. But when we get so busy in every day-to-day world, you don't feel, you don't do that. Or even when I'm sitting and I'm trying to be quiet, it's like my mind will just go. But if I'm listening to somebody and they're talking me through it, then I can actually feel the part that they're talking about. It's really kind of wild how that works, I think.
Yeah. That's the power of your attention, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So that
Yeah,
is
because
so does that, and I know we're gonna have to take a quick break from our sponsors, but I know you have a course that's created about talking to your cells, which is again going within the body. So I look forward to hearing more about that and how we can actually talk to our cells and how that practice can help. But we're going to take a quick break from our sponsors, and we will be right back.
You feeling stressed, burnt out, disconnected, and just stuck, and you want your mojo back? Hi, I'm Linda Joy Ben. I'm an international speaker, best-selling author, and transformational catalyst, and founder of the Ben Method, which is a revolutionary approach to healing, self-care, and transformation. Using my Ben Method, I've also healed my own body of cancer and autoimmune medication-free. Now I work with others, empowering them to reclaim and come back into alignment with their soul's mission, and to restore their balance and freedom in their life, and then jump out of bed and go, wow, I feel fantastic. I love my life. I have the best life. And then spread that happiness out to their loved ones and everyone that they come in contact with. If you would like to reclaim your mojoy, let's connect. And I look forward to talking to you soon.
I used to say we need a lawyer in the family. Having Legal Shield is better.
For less than $1 a day, you get access to vetted lawyers.
Want to create your will? Call Legal Shield. Got personal contracts to review? Call Legal Shield.
Do you need a vetted law firm to write a letter? Call Legal Shield. Warranty questions? Call Legal Shield.
For less than $1 a day, it's a no-brainer. Shield yourself from costly legal expenses. Call Legal Shield today.
Maybe your body's not against you. Maybe the pain you're feeling is your body trying to tell you something. You know, your body's symptoms are not purely physical. They always have an emotional and energetic component as well. If you'd like to learn how to assist your body's natural healing process by clearing blocked energies and understanding your body's messages, I invite you to enroll in my step-by-step course, Talk to Your Cells, because you are so much more powerful than you know.
So, Ana, tell us some more about Talk to Your Cells and how that came about.
Yes, that is part of my empowerment journey of finding the freedom of being in charge of my life, which also means being in charge of my health and my body and my energy. So these different techniques that I've gathered over the last, let's say, decade and a half, some of them I learned and I'm deeply trained in. Others kind of came to me by accident, but they all fit together in ways that give us the power to communicate with our bodies, to actually heal and clear energetically the root causes of pretty much any physical issue, because it always also has an emotional and energetic component, not only, but also. And then we can firstly listen to what our body has to say. We can have this dialogue with it, and we can also talk to it, which means we can tell it what we need it to do. You know, we are not powerless in these bodies. We often feel that our bodies are against us. We feel that our bodies are just trying to make our lives miserable, you know, trying to make our lives difficult by having these pains and having these issues and things that we just can't control. And we feel like our bodies are out to get us, right? Mm-hmm. But the opposite is true. You know, we just have to remember how much power we have and freedom we have. And I like to think of it as sovereignty. We have sovereignty, not just over, but with our bodies. So, the course is, let's say, 15 years of collecting all of my experiences and training and helping other people to not only connect and communicate with their bodies, but to literally ease pain and the underlying causes behind these issues, in combination with other therapies and whatever else you're doing.
Yeah, I would imagine it depends on the person that you have, right? Because different modalities, different things work for different people.
Yes. There are, gosh, how many are there? I can't even remember. There's a lot. There's a lot of various techniques, but they all kind of fit together, you know. And the emotional healing is one component of that we just talked about before, and that's something you can do immediately. You know, you can go in, you can allow your feelings, you can start the healing process just with that alone.
Would you say the emotional healing is kind of what has to come first to get the physical healing?
That is a crucial component of it, yeah. A lot of times when you only cure the physical symptom, it can come back, or something else can come back, or something else can develop. You know, it can go from your hip to your spine. You know, it could move, it could show up somewhere else, because the energetic and the emotional density or trauma that's stuck in the body there has not been addressed, it has not been healed. And so my mission is to tell people that they are truly empowered to heal that part. And so not only, yes, can you get treatments and whatever you want to do for your physical symptoms, but a symptom is exactly that. It's a symptom of a cause. And the cause, whether it's also an external force, it could be a toxin, it could be, radiation, harmful, this or that. But what attracted that to us? What made us sensitive to that where other people maybe aren't as sensitive, right? There is that emotional and energetic cause. So that is something that we need to heal. So that is one part of it, that may be one of the most important parts. Yeah.
Yeah, I've always said the mind and the body, I think, are some of the most powerful tools, and I think you nailed it. Is that we always look at symptoms and how do we make the symptom, like go away, but really all we're doing is masking the problem if we're not going to the root cause. So,
bingo.
yeah,
Yeah. And there are so many ways you can connect with your body. In the course I give, every component has a guided visualization journey also. So it's a step-by-step follow along type of thing where you can get used to the process first, and then you can do it on your own and you won't need me, right? I mean, that is the goal, so that we can do it ourselves.
Yeah, I like that too, because a lot of times when you find people, it's just like, oh, well, come back in this, and but really, like you said, the idea is to help others to heal, and maybe they can help others heal, because we have millions of people out there that I know are suffering in one way or another.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We can all use a little more of this, because it's just a reminder of the power that you have already. You just forgotten. People have told you that you weren't able to do that. People told you couldn't do it, right? That's
Right.
what society tells us. We don't learn this in school. We don't learn how to take charge of our health. We don't learn how to take charge of our bodies and our thoughts and our emotions. We don't learn that. So it's not our
No.
fault.
Yet it's been around for thousands of years. Go figure. So
Yeah,
Anna,
and
you're a highly sensitive empath. What strategies did you find most effective for managing your emotional overwhelm during your travels?
yeah, overwhelm was crazy. Meditation was the first thing that allowed me to not only to calm down, really, and to kind of get that stuff off of me, because how I see it now is that being empathic is not necessarily a good thing, or it's not necessarily the highest version of what a sensitive person is and can be. Empathic, depending on how you define it, usually means you can feel other people's energies, right? You can feel other energies that are not your own. And so the problem with being an empath, which I dealt with for decades and still have to, keep under control, is that taking on other people's energies and emotions is not good for us. And we don't have to do that, right? We
Right.
learn to do that. The unhealthy part of that is usually from trauma, where you grow up in maybe a household with a lot of conflict, with a lot of negative emotions. Maybe it feels unsafe to be there, and so you have to feel into other people's emotions so that you can kind of sense when it's safe to speak, when it's safe to come out, when you should stay in your room, And so, I mean, we don't necessarily have to keep living that way after we're kind of growing up and out of the situation. So, being the empath that I was so I had many periods of depression. I had many periods of overwhelm, just kind of down in the dumps, just like I could barely speak to people. I mean, I really was not thriving. And what first allowed me to do that was meditation, even before I knew what meditation was doing. And namely, it was bringing the light of source, as I call it, back into my cells, into my body, and into my being, my whole energetic field. Because when we do our healing process, we're processing the emotions. We are allowing those negative energies to be processed, to become one with our conscious mind, right?
Right.
But not only are we healing these things, but then kind of with the meditation part, we're bringing light into our body and energy field more. And that's, we give off photons. That's scientifically proven. And we give off light, whether you can see it or not. And so meditation will, when you get to shut the mind off, or not shut it off, but when you move out of your mind into your body, into the present moment, the light comes in automatically. You can feel it. I feel it like a kind of a warm, fuzzy, tingling sensation. A lot of people feel that, I think, when they really start to get into the groove of meditation, when you kind of get into the groove of being present without paying attention to those thoughts. That's the light coming in. And so that would refresh me before I even knew what was happening. And later I learned how to deal with my energy more. And now I will tell everyone, please, if you feel at all sensitive to external emotions or energies, if you go to the supermarket and you come out kind of feeling something you didn't feel before, right? Dense energies, anxiety, whatever it is, if you're at all sensitive to that stuff, you first must clear that stuff out of your field, because it's not yours. Process it. So if you're just going to use the emotional processing techniques I'm describing on everything that comes into your field, you're never going to be done. You're never going to be able to take a breath. It's not
Right.
yours to deal with, right? It's not a bad thing. It's wonderful to be connected to people and to really have that sensitivity and that intuition. But at least once a day, multiple times a day if necessary, send those energies out. Just intend. You can speak to your heart, you can speak to your higher self. You can just intend that external energies that are not yours go out of your body and field now. And imagine it happening however you can see that, and however you can sense that.
Yeah.
And then you bring your energy back. Okay? Because when you're thinking about the past or the future, thinking about someone else, other people, other places, your energy is leaking out into those places and times. So after you clear those external energies out, then you bring all of your energy back into the body. And only then can you figure out what is yours even to feel and to heal. And that's part of the free gift, actually, I want to offer your audience, is that initial setting the stage for healing. You have to clear your field out first and purify your own energy, what's in your body and field, before you can do anything else. So that's for all the empaths out there, for all sensitive people, for anyone who's interested in healing themselves, or just being a little bit less affected by external events and emotions. That is my number one suggestion to you.
Yeah. And how would you describe it to some people? Because for many years, and until I started to getting more into this world and meeting more and more of you, then I started realizing that I was actually empathic also, because of all the stuff I used to always take on everybody's stuff. And you're right, it created a lot of havoc, a lot of pain. But I didn't discover that until after I was 50. So I didn't know, because I was not in that world. What would you tell people what would you say the signs are for them to realize whether they're empathic or not?
Oh, goodness. Yes. Just very commonly, when you're walking into a room and people are already there, they're kind of already having a discussion, or maybe they have finished having a discussion. Maybe, if there are people in the room and you walk into the room and you can already get a sense of, was there just an argument? Is someone sulking? Was there an energy of anger? If you could already kind of sense what happened in that room before you entered, that's a pretty telltale sign. Other ways that it can happen that you might be able to sense it is that when someone comes in, starts talking to you, and they start complaining, they're just going off on how horrible this person was, what they did to them, and blah 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 blah, and they're kind of vomiting their anger or their dissatisfaction onto you. Then they leave, and then you're still feeling that. you've taken on their energy. Yeah. And so when that goes on for a long time, that can end up being, it can end up taking the form of even depression or anxiety that may not really be yours. If you're, for example, in contact with someone very frequently who is giving off a lot of that energy, you don't know. It could be yours. It could be someone else's. So those are the way you can kind of sense it, because I, even as a kid, I was able to do that. Like I said, kind of from just the conflict in my house growing up, like a lot of us go through. And so being more aware of how you feel before and after maybe talking to someone or going to a certain place, that will be priceless to really get a hold of, like, how is your energy? Are you taking that on? What do you need to release? And how is your energy upkeep, or your energetic hygiene almost? How is that working? Do you need to do more? Do you need to do some more clearing? Do you need to heal something that's yours? Right? It's being aware, I think. The more you can be aware of how you're feeling, at all times, the more you can both keep your field clear and heal what is yours.
Yeah, one thing I did is learn to kind of protect my space. So when I know there's certain situations or areas that I'm going to that I know are not going to work well, it's like, yeah, nope, that's not for me. I will pass.
Yeah, just don't go to that meeting or that meetup. Yeah, very good. You shouldn't feel like you need to say yes all the time. If you do feel like you have to go, you could always really imagine like a very bright light coming out of your heart and feeling your whole field around you. Just imagine that, right? Just imagine your energy field as a bright, strong ball of light, and it's just radiating out of you so strongly that those other lower vibrational energies here and there, they won't be able to come into your field because your energy is stronger. That's another thing you can do.
I like that. Either that, or I normally wind up gravitating or find someone else that's in a happier place like I am. You just kind of have your own, have your own conversation. Yeah. Yes. And like you, I guess I never used to consider it meditation, because I think we all have a different idea of what meditation looks like in their head. But whenever I get, frustrated or stressed, even with working on stuff here, it's like, nope, time to walk away. I will go outside, go walk around, enjoy the trees, the birds, whatever critters I've got running around, and just spend some time outside, or just close my eyes and just feel the wind and the sun and just reset.
Yeah. Yes, all of that. Why do you think I'm living here in the jungle?
This is all. I was going to say, yeah, that's not a Zoom backdrop. That is her actual. That is her actual surroundings. Yep, it's live.
This is an avocado tree right there.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I chose to be here. I came to the jungles of South America because I wanted to be surrounded by nature, and because I am so sensitive to those energies, it doesn't mean that I'm powerless when I have to go out and talk to people. I'd like to talk to people like that, but I have this nature around me. And so, just like you said, exactly, find a place where you can recharge, right? Especially nature, because meditating can be anything that's where you're in the present moment, in the here and now, and you're just observing. Just observe the sensation of the wind on your face, just like you said, and that could also be traveling. You're doing these things for you, and you could be anywhere, but you're enjoying that moment as it is.
Yeah, that used to always be our getaway travels. And I always told people, I said, one thing I've learned is, yes, we just need to always be on vacation. Well, life was always just much better. Even my fiance, I could see the difference in the attitude, when you get away from the everyday mundane things and you get to just go out and enjoy yourself. It's like a whole different person emerges.
Yes. And you need that. That should be necessary. It shouldn't be a luxury that we take some time for ourselves, right? Right. It should be necessary. It should be a requirement.
Yeah, I agree. I think it should be a requirement. So, Anna, can you tell us, was there a specific spiritual practice or technique from all the cultures that you visited that deeply resonated with you?
Well, okay. I am interested in a lot of them, so I'm not going to say that I adhere to only one. But Tibetan Buddhism has a lot of magic for me, and it has been the tradition of the line of teachers that I've worked with,
Mm-hmm.
and so that I find part of my foundation, right?
Right.
I also really got a good foundation with it's very hard to say his name, Nisargadatta Maharshi. Sorry, Nisargadatta Maharshi. No, I'm saying it wrong. Nisargadatta Maharaj and Ramana Maharshi. Sorry for the butchering of the pronunciation, but I think it was Ramana Maharshi that wrote the I Am That, this book, and it's a kind of a non-dual um, uh, tradition of meditation and yoga, spiritual yogic practices. So that non-duality as well is another founding part
Mm-hmm.
of my foundation. And then, yeah, and then some more modern techniques also that I've learned, because the more modern techniques are the more feminine techniques, in my opinion. The more feminine techniques are the ones that are allowing the motions and the body and not just rejecting it. And so that, for me, is the more modern feminine way, in addition to the also very effective, more masculine focused way of meditating and just kind of focusing your way into union with source.
Right.
You can do that. You can. You can also heal what's in the way of your already oneness with source, which is a more feminine way. It's
Nice.
a mixture.
Yeah. So, how can people begin to recognize and release their own mental and societal limitations, just like you did?
I have a very easy and also very difficult answer, and that is to ask the question. You have to really want to know the truth. It works every time. It works every time. When you really decide you want the truth, you just put that intention out to the universe. You say it to yourself, you say it to your guides, whoever you're talking to. You put that intention out there. I want to know the truth about whatever, blah, blah, blah. The answers will come. They will blow your mind, as my mind has been completely shattered by all of the things that I have realized about life and about myself and about reality. If you ask the question, the answers will come in whatever way they can. It may take a few days, weeks, or months. It could be a process. You'll read an article here. You'll hear someone tell you something over there. You'll read a book here. You'll watch a video there. It'll all come together, and you will get the answers. But first and foremost is your discernment. You feel what feels true to you, because you're going to find a whole lot of information. You're going to find answers of all kinds, and you're going to know what's the right answer when you feel the truth inside you. Yeah, if something feels disempowering, if something makes you feel afraid, if something makes you feel powerless, it may not be the truth, and it's probably not. Yeah, if it empowers you, if it feels right, if you feel like there's hope, like you feel empowered to take control of your life, or to look for answers, or to heal, or to make some kind of positive change in the world, in society, that may be more of the truth. Because in my opinion, in my experience, it has always been like that. If it's disempowering, it's really not the truth. Feel it in yourself. Use your discernment, and then it's literally the only thing you need to know. You ask the question, you'll get the answers, and then you discern.
Nice. So in your excuse me, in your experience, what are some of the common energetic blockages that people face, and how do you think they can begin to identify them?
Oh, lots. Well, anywhere that you're struggling in life, anywhere something's not working out, there's a block there. And it's not, again, it's not something to reject. It's just the next thing that needs your attention. It's the next thing that needs to be healed. And so we could say that these opportunities, these situations are opportunities for us to heal something, and they're not happening to us, they're happening for us, right? But the common ones, you have anxiety, you have depression, you have worthlessness, feelings of worthlessness, where you feel like you don't deserve love, you don't deserve to be happy, you don't deserve money, you don't deserve to be happy in some way. The worthlessness, I would say, is one of the main ones. Others really just a step from the universe, from all other people, feeling alone, feeling lonely. Because once you really connect in with your true essence, which by nature is connected with all that is, you actually are always connected with everything that exists, and with all these other people that are running around, feeling alone, you're actually all connected. So feeling disconnected and feeling worthless, like a lack of self-love, I would say are some of the main ones at the root of a lot of fears, because fear usually is the root of most emotions that are stuck in the body. There's usually a fear underneath that. Emotions are stuck in the body, like in layers, or in the unconscious, or however you want to call it. There's usually layers. There'll be one layer, and then one layer of, let's say, anger and frustration, but underneath that maybe is a feeling of powerlessness. Underneath that, a feeling of fear. Yeah. So yeah, if that answers your question, it's more fundamental.
Yeah, no, that does. That absolutely does. So, so do you have a success story that you don't want to share of someone that has been able to transform their life through your teachings?
Yes, yes, of course. I mean, too many, but the ones I'm most proud of are the ones where people didn't believe in any of the stuff that I was saying, and they still had a result. so, so one gentleman came to me who actually had a kidney infection, yeah, terrible kidney pain. He, for some reason, he said he couldn't get to the doctor until the next day, and he was just like miserable. Well, fine, can we please do something, right? And so I lead him through one of the practices that actually is in the course. It's a communication practice where he actually is inside his organ, looking around and getting some information. And he follows along. He goes through it. He hadn't done anything. He hasn't meditated before. He has not thought about energy or the universe before. He just, he got my number and he needed help then and there. So I led him through a process, and he was able to go through it step by step. He could follow along. At the end, I mean, I wasn't expecting a result immediately. It could take a while sometimes, but immediately, even before we were finished the call, he said the pain was gone. I mean, sometimes it surprises me too. So you don't have to have a certain belief system. You don't have to. You don't have to agree with me on anything.
No, I've met
I
people like
just
that where I've had
got
conversations with them and she's like, "Oh, I love skeptics. Bring it on. What what do you got?" But, what does it hurt? I mean, you're talking about things that you can do and you can control to actually help yourself to feel better and heal.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. I love it, and it's everyone everyone is different, and so whoever you find that has answers for you, go for it. There's as many ways to heal and to expand as there are people on the planet. Just find something that works for you. I give some tips. There's a lot of other tips out there. Whatever works for you is what you should do. Always rely on yourself first. That's what I say.
Yeah. Well, Anna, we got about 4 minutes left. what kind of legacy do you look to leave, and what would you like to leave the audience with today?
100% empowerment. That is my mission. And that is the legacy that I really want to leave behind, is empowerment, where people feel empowered, they feel in charge of their lives. You know, I am, you are, we all are able to make those positive changes that we want in our lives. We are not powerless. That is what I need to emphasize. We are not powerless. I personally believe that the system is set up to make us feel powerless because we're more easily controlled that way. My opinion. And I think that us remembering and realizing and acknowledging our power, healthy power, balanced power, not power over anyone else, but a balanced empowerment, just like everyone else can do. When we feel this balanced sense of empowerment and we are not powerless, that is something that I think will heal a lot of the world's ills.
Yeah. I have to say, I admire your journey and everything you've done. I love your beautiful background. It obviously
Yeah.
suits you.
Yes, I'm grateful to be here, and I'm grateful to wake up every day. And I can guarantee you it wasn't like that, some years ago. So we can get there. It is possible for all of us.
Yeah, most definitely. So yeah, so if you're feeling stuck, overwhelmed, have those pains, the traumas, definitely reach out to Ana. She's got a beautiful program. As I said, you can do or talk to your sales course and connect with her that way. We do offer the free promo. If you use the promo code Joy100, you can save $100 off of her course. And then Ana also has the free gift. So be sure to grab that while you're watching the episode. And I want to thank everybody for joining us. And Ana, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing that with us.
My pleasure. I'm just so thrilled to connect with you. You have a beautiful energy. You're so grounded and also so empowered in yourself too. So I love to connect with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's kind of funny. I was like, our shirts are almost the same color
Yeah.
too. We didn't plan it ahead of time either.
I know.
So thank you so much and keep up the beautiful work. Everyone have a wonderful Monday and have a great rest of your week. And we will see you next time.